This is update for January 22, 2023, day 333 of the war, end of the date update. But I'm gonna cover a period from the January 19th through January 22. So just a little explanation. And we're gonna jump right away to the situation on the front lines as things are developing in the wrong way for Ukraine. Let's put it this way. Just a side note, I will provide a little bit more information on the new deliveries of the weapons. So far, their only real tank delivery is Challenger 2 from the UK, 14 tanks. The rest about the talk about Leopards 2 is just a talk for now. I think there are also 120 T-72s, but that's just they basically just filling the losses and gaps and so on. But this is nothing that's sort of changing the situation on the battlefield in a meaningful way. Plus, all of these T-72s, at this point, it's getting harder and harder to get them anywhere around the world. And so the pressure to deliver either Leopard 2, Abrams is going to be increasing in the next months or two. The problem with the Challenger 2 is that there are too few of them in general that were made. I think there were 400 units, 400 tanks made in total. Some of them in Oman, the rest in the UK. So it's just going to be, the inventory is too low. But at the same time, it's probably the best tank relative to Abrams, relative to Leopard 2, relative to Leclerc, because there was even sort of question maybe Leclerc, which is French tank, is going to be delivered. But that one is totally, let's say, dream in the sky. Something more realistic is Leopard 2, but not from Germany. So Germany doesn't look like that they're going to be doing it. It's more like, okay, we're not against. We're not, if Poland wants to do it or whoever wants to do it, Czech Republic wants to do it, they're welcome to do it. Because they don't make it, they understand that they're going to be, if something happens, they're going to be the next sort of front line. The desire to share with Ukraine probably not quite high. I mean, in rhetoric, yeah, it sounds like, yeah, we're going to give you, but everybody understands that, like, if things go wrong way, Poland is going to need everything they can get. And, that's very logical. There's no, it's just sort of normal behavior. There's nothing wrong about it. Then Ukraine is getting a bunch of IFVs, I think like 100 Bradleys, good number of CV90s. I'll look at those probably tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, but there's nothing sort of like earth-shattering there. It's just okay, just replacement for BMP-1 and BMP-2, which are essentially gone. Again, there's not much inventory left. They are horrific. I'm talking about the BMP-1 and BMP-2. So any replacement of them that's sort of the same timeline is definitely much better than what Ukraine has right now. So in a way, it's sort of improvement in terms of IFV support, but they not gonna change anything. It's just they they're nothing special, just IFV, as they say. In terms of quick update on Ukrainian energy system, so the situation remains difficult. It's in coma, and there are minimal improvements. So things essentially remain the same in pretty terrible shape. Now let's do walks through the front line. We're gonna start from the north, and then we're gonna do in a clockwise fashion, going down south. So the situation along the state border is more or less the same, no essential differences. Let's jump at North Luhansk front line first. So things here looks like Russian side is really trying to um, get initiative in their hands, like completely. So far, but at the same time, the situation here for now is the most safest on all front lines for Ukraine. Things here are just in balance on both sides, and Russian attacks, they essentially go nowhere here. Now let's move to the North Donbass front line, where things are really going, let's say, from bad to worse for Ukraine. So first, let's look at the northern sort of section of this North Donbass front line. Russian troops advanced to the north on this road. As you can see, this road that sort of connects Bahmut with Siversk. So they managed to capture village Kransnopolivka, essentially, in this area where I'm showing. And the most important part is not even that they captured this village, is that Ukrainian defensive Ukrainian defense is kind of like a lost sort of ground. And this is going to the previous theory that Ukrainian units has lost their sort of backbone of the most capable soldiers, who, like, based on basically that was the backbone of the defense line, and why Ukrainian forces so far were able to withstand heavy pressure from the Russian side. But it does look like it's significantly eroded. And usually that sort of like a core is about 20% of the soldiers, maybe 25 at the best, and sometimes 15%. So even if you lose, let's say, 5 or 10% of them, or roughly like 40%, from let's say 25 to 15, or from 20 to 10, or even less, that's very significant loss, and it essentially makes unit extremely soft, let's put this way, and not capable of the strong defense of the strong defenses. And in addition, I believe there is some breakdown in the morale, where people feel that they are done plugging the holes with their bodies, where they say, okay, well, give us weapons or we're not going to continue this suicidal strategy. And I think that's part of what's going on here. But let's actually look a little bit south, where things are really getting pretty terrible. So what happened, and this is not what happened on 22nd. This has been developing essentially like 19th, 20th. Essentially, this whole development is from 19th and 20th. So the Russian troops managed to, I think it's actually on 19th, managed to capture Klishchiyivka. So essentially, they cleared out this whole area, and they actively attacking Ivanivsky here. Then they actually launching attacks from more in straight western direction, and looks like this natural defensive line, this Donbas water channel, freshwater channel, is not going to be basically defensive line. And as I said, Ukrainian troops cannot find their ground, and they just, retreating. And as I said, there is deeper problem here overall. And in the hindsight, that strategy that Wagner mercenaries adopted, which was, okay, when we want to kill as many Ukrainian soldiers, so to kill the best, exchange our prisoners for the best on Ukrainian side. And it looks like that strategy works, I would say, in a summary, because that's exactly why this defensive line's now no longer holding on. And as you can see, Wagner mercenaries continue pushing pretty much at this point non-stop. and this will continue. That's a bigger sort of problem out of all of this. That basically, as I said, on Ukrainian side, there's not the core is becoming too little that's capable of sort of withstanding and continuing taking on heavy losses. The majority is basically voting with their actions, where they say, okay, give us weapons, or we're not going to continue, as I said, dying here for plugging with our bodies the mistakes of the Ukrainian political top and military top. And I think this is this kind of like a turning moment that's starting on the front line in general. This is for now just here because Wagner mercenaries are, as a system, capable. I would say it's completely inhumane system. I'm not saying that this is right system or whatever, but just looking from the effectiveness, it does work. And as I said before, there is no strategic answer on Ukrainian side, and there will not be strategic answer on Ukrainian side unless you drastically change Ukrainian military, and in a way, it also requires changing Ukrainian political top. And so at this point, things are becoming very, very, say, threatening for Ukraine going forward. As I said, the only lucky sort of part is this is just Wagner mercenaries. The rest of the Russian military is horrifically incapable. Basically, it's a dead wood, essentially. But Wagner mercenaries is close to 40,000 plus minus, maybe more right now. I don't know, but that's a very large number for this for this war, right? In general, it's not a huge number, but for this war, it's a tip of the spear that's big enough to make a lot of damage over time. So as you can see at this point, Bahmut is very close to be lost, and it actually, I believe that this may be happening probably early February, this situation, but it's developing much, much faster, and there is real possibility of losing Bahmut within probably 10-20 days, if not even faster. So and as I said, the problem is that that it's not going to stop. It will continue, and it will probably the space of quick collapse of Ukrainian front line may accelerate. That this is not just like, okay, just some blip, just some random coincidence. This is a systematic situation here. So again, very concerning, I would say extremely concerning situation. Now let's move down south. Let's look at this central Donbas front line. So here's perfect example of why regular Russian military is completely incapable. As you can see, again, attacks in this whole three areas where there is already actually advances in the past, and they're just gonna do anything, just hitting their head against the wall, and really no advances here. So just I would say compare and contrast regular Russian military versus versus Wagner mercenaries. Now let's actually look at Zaporizhzhia front line. So as I mentioned before, this is just in general, the Zaporizhzhia front line could be the most dangerous area for Ukraine if Russian command chooses to launch offensive. This would be the most dangerous area because it's about 20 kilometers to Zaporizhzhia. Zaporizhzhia, it's a pretty huge hub, like industrial hub, logistical hub, like really very extremely important city, I would say. In some ways comparable to, let's say, Kharkiv, Dnipro, and so on. So it's definitely, and Odessa, it's definitely on much higher level than, let's say, Mykolaiv or Kherson. So just so for those who don't really understand, like Ukrainian, not even geography, but just generally, economy, the whole, like, political system. It's, I would say, if you rank, then the Kiev would be one, then Lviv number two or three, whatever, doesn't matter. But then Kharkiv, Dnipro, and then there would be Zaporizhzhia. Oh, well, sorry, forgot about Odessa. So Odessa, and then Zaporizhzhia goes after that. So what, three, five? So number six. Uh, well, I'm not talking about this point Donetsk because it's been lost a long time ago, and Lugansk wasn't. It's not really major, important sort of hub or anything. So again, Donetsk obviously was probably number two or three. They were rivals with Dnipro, basically more or less on the same level. Then you would have Kharkiv, Lviv, then Odessa, and then Zaporizhzhia. But now, since Donetsk is gone, Zaporizhzhia is pretty important major place, especially from industrial perspective, extremely important place for Ukraine. So let's actually look. So it looks like a Russian military decided to launch offensive, not even in this area, but literally. Looks like straight directed at Zaporizhzhia, the shortest sort of pass to Zaporizhzhia. Mm, there were some minor local, let's say, successes of the Russian military. There is no sort of major like breach of the defensive line. In some in some areas, Russian troops managed to capture the sort of first line of trenches or first line of strongholds, probably a better way to say it. So again, the things are pretty dangerous here, and the only, as I said, saving grace that this is Russian military, which means is fairly incapable of anything. But the problem here for Ukrainian side is it's extremely soft and thin lines for Ukrainian from on the Ukrainian side here. There is no enough density of troops. Neither here 65th Brigade is nothing special. I would say just pretty mediocre unit. So its ability to withstand attacks, even just simple primitive brute force attacks, is, I would say, under question. Plus, the geography is really difficult for defensive operations because it's essentially kind of like a flat field, flat flat table, or close to, I would say, not perfectly, but close enough. Um, so, so it looks like, so if we'll go back, it looks like Ukrainian command probably will need to throw some of this other units that look like they are available as reserve, or who knows, maybe they already committed in North Donbass, not clear. But basically, there is a desperate need for more reserves, so more units to plug the holes in the defensive situation overall. So, just to summarize, the war situation here in North Donbass, and then the second sort of the emerging threat, let's put this way, is Zaporizhzhia front line. The most stable so far is this North Lugansk. The second most stable is Central Donbas. So essentially, but and here in North Donbas, it's not. It doesn't. Regardless of the successes of the Wagner mercenaries, it's all very built up area with like small towns that go almost to this line where I show. So regardless of their successes, it's going to take them a long time to sort of basically go through this urban area. So it's not going to be quick, and it will be a lot of sort of losses on Wagner on the Russian side. But for them, it doesn't matter. Essentially, it's about the system. So they just can put whatever people into the system, and it's not about people essentially. Um, so the quickest results where Russian troops can achieve is actually this stretch of the Zaporizhzhia front line, where it's a very thin line, and manned by pretty mediocre brigade. I would say even towards its below average, and whether it's going to be able to sort of withstand, another question. And hopefully, Ukrainian command brings some more reserves there, because this was probably sort of like reconnaissance attack, right? It wasn't full blown true offensive. It was just testing the water in a way. But it's very clear, there's just knowing how Russian command works. It really means that there will be more sort of hammer attacks in this area, and giving that just significant number of refreshed units available, just sort of from the quantity perspective, even if it's inept, just the sheer quantity can overrun that 65th Brigade there. So again, the situation is pretty difficult. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and until tomorrow. Bye bye.